Hi, my name is Tyrese Simon, news writer for SEScoops, and welcome to the latest edition of the Get to Know series. As we're in Black History Month, I want to spotlight a legend in the wrestling media. He's been traveling around the country interviewing legends from WWE, WCW, the list goes on and on. He's met and spoke to the superstars of today before they became famous. Mr. Docta D, Daryl Johnson. How you doing, sir?
Tyrese, how's it going, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on. I know it's a little bit late,
Uh,
but I definitely appreciate you for coming on today.
Appreciate you having me. I appreciate that most definitely.
So before we get into your career and what you've been doing, I want to start off first by asking you, how did you get into professional wrestling?
Been a lifelong fan since the late 70s, growing up in Newark, New Jersey, and really going full in when I moved down to DC and in the uh, early 80s and so forth like that. Fast forward to when me and my best friend used to uh, put on pretend matches in high school, private school, and the Docta D name really began from there. From and that point, fast forward to let's say the early 2000s when I basically kind of put up a MySpace page and started doing my own thing with creating videos and content creating, as people call it today, going to place, starting with 2007 with Cyber Sunday weekend, and WWE was in town, and Batista was doing a signing right down the street from my house in PG County. And there, Rey Mysterio was at a Best Buy, and then when Cyber Sunday happened, this was prior to the event down at the Capital One Arena when it was called the MCI Center and then the Verizon Center. And that's when I started doing my own little grassroots journalism, if you will, trying to get some of the WWE talent, including some of the future. And interesting story. If people remember Alex Riley, Alex Riley is from the DMV, and I remember when he first broke in before anybody knew him, and that's on YouTube. That's again the thing about me. I love to get to know the talent of the future who are pretty much the talent today, and that's where going to the indies comes in, and that's being able to support them for a very long time in this area between the DMV and between Baltimore, and the reputation that I had built by the relationships I had with the indies.
I did not know Alex Riley was from the DMV.
Yes,
That's news to me. Yeah.
he's from the Virginia area.
Oh, cool, cool. I didn't even know that. So, you put me on game today.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you also worked for Fox at one point, right?
At one point, I created Wrestling Marks of Excellence radio, starring the firm Fox Sports 1340 out of Hopewell, Virginia. Kudos to my college friend Glenwood Thomas and Steve Nugent, who was the owner at the time, for opening that window for us to have that show at the particular time. So
I talk about you getting to wrestling and you're going back way back for me.
yeah.
But for you to get into wrestling media is a whole different monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, was there somebody that you looked up to and said, okay, I believe I could do that, or was it just out of you being a fan?
Both, and I would say, let's say when wrestling was more radio than talk radio, than it became known as we know it today, podcasting. There was a show out of Baltimore called Wrestle Talk America, hosted by a guy by the name of Cole Porter, who happened to have been known as the Devious Doc, Adam Cole. He had the name before the Adam Cole that we know today. So that was it's the irony of that. And the late great Al Albert, who was also the co-host. I consider two of them are my mentors when it came to wrestling and talk radio at the time. And from that point, pretty much, as I looked at how wrestling was being portrayed when social media was just in its infancy, I didn't do what everybody else was trying to do. So that's where I made it my business to not just sit behind the camera and talk wrestling different than how it is now, but I went to the locations. I wanted to get to know the people. I wanted to get to know the talent. I wanted to get to know the fans. And that's pretty much still my formula, Tyrese, because it's all about being out there in the public. And I enjoy that more than anything. I love creating videos, which is why when people say, what's your podcast? Well, it's more of a broadcast than podcast. Of course, I do
Right.
things like what we're doing right now from time to time, and even on my Instagram live where I get a chance to talk to people, not just the talent, not just people that have contributed, but talk to friends and fans if they wanted to just join on my live just to talk wrestling. It's always about, for me, connecting to the people in all facets.
One of the things that I've found interesting, just going through your career and going through, going through the YouTube videos and the clips and everything like that,
Yeah,
is that it's expensive to do what you did. Like, it's expensive to be able to go to shows and go to events, different parts of the country. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm a wrestling fan, and I'm in wrestling media and I'm covering the sports. Another thing to actually go to the shows and be on the field and be there with the
there you
people.
go.
Um, like, what made you decide to go that route? Because, like I said, it is expensive to actually go out and do the work.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is, man. As they say, the money and the miles, and the way things have accumulated over the years.
Right.
Yeah, you can pretty much say that. Even just this weekend, no matter how inexpensive it can be,
Right.
the taxing of the travel alone, and being able to set up your program there with just whatever technology you have. I
Right.
mean, the thing that always kind of gives me some anxiety is, am I going to break down in the middle of nowhere? am i
Mm.
going to am I going to be able to have enough juice in my cameras and tablets and phones to be able to do that? So it may appear easy, but it's all those things that you got to consider all the time when you're going up and down these roads. So yeah.
And that's the thing, is just like today, like I would imagine today is a little bit easier because of
Yeah,
technology, but you was doing it back then where it was more difficult. It was more challenging. So it definitely goes to show, the work you've put in over the years, and hats off to you for being able to show people the way of how to, be a content creator in wrestling media.
much appreciated, much appreciated. And it's only because really, I just love wrestling.
Right.
I just got a love for it. And it's always been a way for me to show my love for it. And because I've done it for so long, the people that you see on TV today, they
Mhm.
still know me. You
Right.
know, when they come to town and so forth, and you get to run into them and so forth. It's that kind of love. It's that kind of love, because they know that I've been like a day one
Right.
of theirs for quite a long time, and I appreciate the fact that they still consider me family as I am to them.
And the thing that was interesting to me going back to watch these videos that you could go see on your channel. You have two, actually have two channels. I
Yes, I do.
realized,
Yes, I do.
you have videos going back as far as 10 years,
Yeah.
and further.
Yeah.
Seeing you with guys like the late great Lenny Poffo,
Yes.
the guy, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
I think you even interviewed Bobby the Brain Heenan.
I did. Yes.
It's just like going back to see
Yeah.
all these old videos and clips of you sitting down and speaking to legends.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have done that without actually having to go out of your way, and whether it be expensive, whether it be, the hardships of travel, making that journey and going to meet these people.
I mean, and sometimes when I look back at everything, and even just recently with losing Jay Briscoe,
Right.
it's like, man, I'm so grateful to God for being able to live this kind of dream, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And being connected to those that are no longer with us, and especially as sudden as Jay Briscoe,
Right.
that kind of really hurt me, especially when I became so connected with the Delaware community
Mm-hmm.
itself. Shout out to Sean Hardy and everybody in Delaware. It's like, man, you feel a loss of a brother, you feel a loss of a family member, and that's how it is. That love is still there for everyone down there, and as long as I'm still here myself, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely going to be that love and support, and especially when it comes to showing that support, not just on the outskirts, but especially when it comes to pro wrestling in your backyard, from the DMV to
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore and so forth like that. I got to make sure that I give that same energy, and because it starts there. It starts there, Tyrese.
So, question: What do you still live in Baltimore?
Actually, I live in Prince George's County, Maryland, in
Okay,
Temple Hills. That's the DMV. We're more in the DC, Maryland, Virginia metropolitan area. We're talking like 30 to 40 minutes from the nation's capital. That's why they call it the DMV, because it's the
gotcha.
DC metropolitan area. And Temple Hills, Maryland is pretty much right across the street from Southeast DC.
Mm-hmm.
So I've lived here ever since '85. So
Okay,
pretty much that has that's always been home, even though I call Baltimore like home away from home.
mm-hmm.
One, because I'm a graduate of Coppin State University, HBCU bound, and also most of the promotions that I have been affiliated with are out in the Baltimore area, from MCW to ACW, EWA. Those are like the three major ones. So those promotions alone, I've been affiliated with like forever.
Gotcha.
So that's when it really started in those particular areas for me when it came to building my brand.
Got you.
Mhm.
One of the things that, like I said, going back and look at these videos is just, it must feel almost surreal, kind of going back, because even now I see you post pictures. Like whenever there's a wrestler's birthday or a legend's
Mhm.
birthday, you
Mhm.
have pictures of almost every person giving a birthday. Like I seen the other day, you had with the Victoria, I believe. You
Yes.
have
Yes.
Victoria, you had Alundra Blade,
Yeah.
Medusa. Like
Yes.
you've just been able to just meet all these types of people that I think people dream to have meet them one time in your life.
I tell you, that's where sometimes the expensive part comes
Right.
in too. But again, it shows my support. period.
Right.
I mean, it shows my support, and that's what helps build relationships. Sometimes you when you build relationships, you understand the business aspect.
Right.
You don't expect a freebie, but even though sometimes in the past I have, but again, when you understand business relationships, it builds personal relationships.
Let me ask you, like, so you've interviewed legends. Like I said, you've interviewed Jake Roberts. I believe you've interviewed I'm blanking on his name, one half of the Howard Foundation. The comments are gonna kill me.
I've interviewed Brett and the Anvil.
Brett, yeah, so you interviewed both of them. I've seen the Anvil one. I've seen the Anvil one. RBD, it's another one.
Yes.
What would you say is one of your favorite people you've interviewed?
Mickey James, hands down.
Okay.
If there are any interviews that I've had multiple times where probably more so is between Mickey James and Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy is another one that really, if you can say how farther I can go back with Matt Hardy, I would say maybe 10 years with him. And even though I seen him in the very early stages when him and Jeff were in their developmental deal with WWE, that is,
Right.
they still managed to go to the indies, and this is where a lot of people don't know that when you had a contract with WWE, you could still go to the indies from time to time. Of course, it's not like
back
that.
then.
Yeah. Of course, it's not like that anymore. But with Matt Hardy, of course, he's another one that I've developed a relationship with, for him going to the still going to the indies, competing even after being a top star that he is. And but Mickey James is another one that's considered to be a homegrown from the indies back in the day that I love getting a chance to talk to her. But I would say those two come to mind when it came to who has been my favorite. Brett has been another one. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Oh my gosh, it's just so many countless names. So many countless names.
No, yeah, I just going back and looking at your YouTube channel, and you could look at under Daryl Johnson. You can also look at it as Docta D, the Wrestling Showcase, which we're going to talk about in a second.
Yes.
Just going back and just looking at all the clips and the people you've met, I am envious of you, just of what you've done so in your career so far, because your career is still going.
Yeah. Tell me about it, man. It's just like this whole weekend.
Right.
Man, from last Friday, I was at MCW anniversary, then in Jersey. Saturday, I was in Jersey for CCW Capital Championship Wrestling. Shout out to my friend, of course, Black Ice, Marcello Squirewell, the first and only Black male owner of an all-women's promotion, and he's doing an outstanding job. And then later that evening, I'm at the ECW arena, the 2300 arena in Philly for my very first MLW show. And then Sunday, I was just at Baltimore Celeb Fest 6. Shout out to Chad Clark and the whole IAPO marketing team. And then later that day, they also had Adrenaline Championship Wrestling, ACW, also who is owned by James Ellsworth. He's at that promotion even before he joined WWE. So again, I always enjoy building those relationships. But what a weekend I had.
That's 4 shows I just counted. That's 4 shows in a weekend.
Yeah. I'm like, I must be nuts.
But again, that's one of the things that I just take away and admire about you, is the fact that even after all these years, you're still traveling, you're still going to the show, you're still meeting people, you're still meeting up and comers. You know, I seen you with the Renegade Twins before, which is like, the only way I knew about them first was through you, and you were talking about them, and then to see them eventually go to AEW, and I think they're doing a
Yes.
dark match. But
Yeah.
like I found them out first because of you.
Yeah. And I can't speak enough about Robin and Shar. Can't speak enough about them. And they're getting ready to go after the NWA Women's Tag Team titles. So yeah, it's all again, Tyrese. It's if there's one thing that you always got to do, you got to support the talent from your own backyard. You got to
Mhm.
support the talent from your own backyard because they are always the future. They are always the future, and when they blow up on television, you will be very, very pleased to say you got to see them then. I wish I was at OVW when John Cena and Brock Lesnar were just there. I wish I was in Memphis when The Rock was Flex Cavana. I
Mhm.
wish I was in those small territories. Can you imagine?
Right.
Even think about the days of going to Hagerstown, Maryland, when John Rambo and the late Dick Karakoff, who really started the Maryland wrestling scene with National Wrestling League and House of Pain, the names that had come from there,
Mhm.
and Doc Gallows, he was out of that school and so forth, and so many others that one thing about me, I'm trying to not name drop so much, but it's I appreciate the history
Right.
of the indies in our area and the legacy that I helped to curate, I guess, if I can use that term.
No, for
But
sure.
it's a matter of the fact that one, you gotta love it.
Mhm.
And I've said this before, you got to have a love for it, because if it just becomes work, you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy it at all. And there have been times when, and hey, I've been burnt out and taking a break, and then having to recharge and get back into it because I know that there's still a love for it, and there's still a love and connection with people that you want and say that, hey, you see something in them, and you want to make sure their name is out there.
For sure. And one of the things you do that is with the Doctor D showcase,
Yes.
where before there is, we have streaming services like IWTV, and I think there's also there's other ones out there as well. The WWE at one point was doing indie promotions on their network. You were going to shows and you were showing some of the best talent and some of the best matches on the
Absolutely.
indies.
Yes.
um you go back, and again you go back on your YouTube channel, and we see you with Cedric Alexander, we see you with who is now Athena, and back then we're seeing you with Cesaro, we were seeing you with all these guys and girls before they ever became famous.
Yeah.
you know
Yes. I mean, it speaks to the fact that there was something in me that was crazy enough, blind enough to believe that he could do something like this. And sure enough, Tyrese, it's like if I see 20 years, if I see 20 years of continuing to do this, I'm grateful. I'm
right.
grateful because it's now um what it is now is you of course see that there are so many excuse me, so many
Mhm.
great black wrestling media communities out there, and you know who they are.
Right.
There's just so many that you become connected to, and it's like, hey, they are doing outstanding, phenomenal jobs in what they're doing in their areas.
No, absolutely. I would like to ask you as well. We talk about some of the people that you've interviewed. People you're still speaking to today, Renegade Twins. Hopefully, they do well and they win those titles.
Mhm.
Uh, what does the wrestling Doctor D wrestling showcase? What do you feel like that impact has been on the wrestling community?
It's about showing the humble beginnings of talent that you would hope to go further in their careers, and pretty much what you have seen over the years. And by the way, I really have three YouTubes, but it's just that the older one I don't really do so much, but the two that you're on are pretty
Right.
much what entails everything, and I just link all the videos up anyway. But what it is, Tyrese, is you look at how it um showcases all aspects of
Right.
the scene that is pro wrestling. It can be from the talent, it can be from the referees, it can be from the producers, the promoters, those that really have had impacts on everything when it came to being responsible for getting the future to where they are today. And for me to witness that from the early stages of what would social media would look like now, it's again rewarding for me, especially when you have those talents that are on TV that are still saying thank you for everything that you've done, thank you
Mm.
for supporting the talent from their early beginnings.
No, 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 most definitely. And we talk about wrestlers that you've also impacted. Let's talk about also other content creators. Which this Get to Know series spotlights content creators. I feel like you've had your hand in other content creators that are blowing up today,
Mhm.
and with your guidance, you've helped them along their careers, and now they're doing great things.
Yeah.
But you were considered one of the originators because you were somebody that was actually going out in the field before we have all this technology. We could do
Mhm.
interviews from far away, and you can meet this person from that's in Australia, or this person that's in
Mhm.
Texas or whatever. You were going there and doing the work.
Yeah.
Um and I spoke to some people today,
Mhm.
and actually, I don't know if you remember this. The first time we met was at the Black Russell Fest
Correct.
last year.
Correct.
And one of the things that I admired and just respected is one of obviously your career, but on top of that, there were so many people there that whenever your name came up, the eyes lit up, and they talked about
Really.
how much you've meant to them and how much you've meant to their careers and how inspirational you were. And you also, I don't know if you remember this as well. We gave you a standing ovation because of what you meant to a lot of people in that room.
And it's things like that that does something to me,
Hmm.
because sometimes you go through periods of like, okay, am I in that conversation as others that are out there today? And some say that I'm a legend, some say I'm an institution, some say I'm an icon. So, and sometimes I go through periods where it's like, what does that look like exactly? And then when it comes to things like what I experienced at Black Wrestle Fest, and when it comes to receiving my inaugural Docta D Memorial Award that will be presented every single year
Right.
to those contributors that also uh, deserve the recognition for what they've done. When it comes to looking at things like that, when it comes to C3W giving me a community service award, when it comes to
Mm.
looking at things like that, it really helps remind me to keep things in perspective on where your audience is, where the support really is, and it grows from there. You know
Right.
what I mean? It grows from there. So I definitely I definitely appreciate it being recognized by my fellow peers in the Black Russell Fest community. It was it's those kind of things that you don't expect at all, and it gives you a reason to keep going. You know what I mean? It really gives you a reason to still have a love to do what you do. And I definitely am humbled and honored and grateful.
And you know what? The thing about that is you didn't have to. Like, you
Right.
don't have to speak to up and comer content creators. You don't have to help give lessons or put somebody on, that's not where you're at. You never had to do that. But the fact that, and what I admire about you is that you did reach out to people, you did help others, you did help content creators that may not have the knowledge that you have, but you're willing to pass that on. That some people that are in your position, they would take it as, well, I don't have to do that. I got here this way, so they should get here the same way. You've actually gone out your way in not only helping wrestlers and spotlighting them, you've also helped content creators, get to where they are today.
I mean, it's only right because you know that they can take it further. You know what I mean? There's so many things that um I'm kind of limited to, but I don't I don't mention that as much.
Right.
I just continue to do what I know and learn to build from there, but there's so many that have the presentation, the fan base, the
Mm.
numbers, if you will. And I not uh jealous of that at all. I definitely envy all of them in a good way because they are so doing what they need to do to get to the next level and to really be out there in the public. And so many have celebrated milestones and anniversaries. Hats off to them all. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Because they pretty much you can pretty much connect with them based on the fact that they have the same passion of doing this just as much as I have. So hats off to them all. I love them all.
Can I read you something from
Yeah.
somebody that you've helped inspire?
Oh, sure.
So this is from Brian H. Waters, and I told him I let it be known that, hey, I'm interviewing you, and I wanted to just get his thoughts on what you have meant to his career. And this is what I want to read.
Okay.
Dr. D has always been someone who has been unapologetic about his love for wrestling. We met in spring of 2011, and instantly a friendship was born. He was always supported me and reminded me that it is okay to love being a wrestling fan. Dr. D has allowed me to accomplish many goals and live out my wildest dreams, which includes being on a wrestling panel and meeting Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 28. We recorded a video at the stadium, and he gave me a hug and said, BDUB, I love your passion, brother.
Beat up.
Beat up.
Yes. So, and when it comes to a person that I just spoke about when it came to taking his vision to a whole nother level, it would be that guy right there. It would be that guy.
Right.
Brian H. Waters is that dude. The wrestling realm has been his baby for so long. And because of the brotherhood that we have, he's definitely someone that will stay in my corner, and I got his back as well. And I never been more proud every time I see him and how he has grown and how he is pretty much branched out from ESPN to Spotify,
The Ringer,
and everything. Brian H. Waters is a blueprint when it comes to journalism, when it comes to content creating, when it comes to social media, when it comes to networking. Brian H. Waters, I would say, is like that connection to everybody. And
he's brilliant.
And he really needs to be commended for bringing lots of the Black wrestling media families together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Let me read you another one.
Okay.
Sir Wilkins. I asked him about you.
My
You know,
dude.
he said the godfather of the wrestling community, a hero and an inspiration.
Oh man. Oh man.
These are guys. These are guys. And these are gentlemen who, you know, Brian H. Waters, somebody that has worked for the Ringer, ESPN, has gone to do great things in this wrestling community.
Yeah.
Sir Wilkins, Jobber's Tears podcast. He has the Spotify. He's working with Spotify. He also, him with the Jobber Tears podcast, have their own wrestling promotion they have going on where they continue to keep growing. With Jobber Slam, like these are people that when I asked them, hey, what's your thoughts on Docta D? And they said they all unanimously were saying, and there's other people as well, Docta D helped my career and he is an inspiration. And without him, I don't know if this is possible.
Yeah.
This Get to Know series, yes, it is to spotlight content creators. And what makes this special, and what we wanted to do is, because of again Black History Month, I and SEScoops wanted to highlight Black legends in this field. And I said, when given the suggestion, I was like, who better to speak to than the guy that has been influential in so many content creators' careers?
Yeah. I gotta say this though. About Sir Wilkins, as well as Black, as well as Janelle. That's a triple threat, man. The Jobber Tears. I mean, when you talk about business minded, when you talk about hardworking, all three of them. But I'm gonna tell you something. Sir Wilkins is a star. He's a superstar. I see him someday on maybe Extra, maybe Access Hollywood. I see him really taking it to another level with his media, because he plays the part real well. His presentation, his swag, his passion, his drive is amazing. I only wished I would have been at his at Battle Club with his match with Simon Miller from What Culture. I only wish I was there to support that. I did give him a little something to show my support in any form of fashion. And I love when Janelle plugs at me to come to New York for any Battle Club shows, and I don't mind her keep plugging me. She'll know I'll make it up there. and anytime I get a chance to, I love Janelle. Black is like that that quiet storm. He's that quiet storm of the group. You love the fact that he can bring it to another level when it comes to dialogue and discussion, and makes you really think and look at things another way. But again, I got nothing but love for those three. Got nothing but love for them. I love the Jobber Tears.
We talk about, what you've done in the past, and obviously you continue to do with Docta D, showcase still to this day, still highlighting talent and still tweaking the talent. What are you doing right now currently?
When you say that, is as far as wrestling, or?
Yes, as far as wrestling.
Right now I'm for the rest of the for between this month and next month, I'm kind of going to be in a chill mode. I know tomorrow trying to make it out to Nikita Koloff's ministry engagement. He's still in town, so I hope to get a chance to go see him and sit in on his service. On the 25th, excuse me, on the 25th, the owner of Baltimore Celeb Fest, is debuting his own promotion called Pay Your Dues, Pro Wrestling. It's going to be in Ransom, West Virginia. So it is that traveling again.
Right. Yeah, you go.
Only thing is, it's not the Bluefield side. It's only 90 minutes, so I think I can get away.
That's not that bad. That's not that bad.
Yeah, yeah, it's not that bad. But yes, Pay Your Dues Pro Wrestling, featuring AEW's Flying Brian Pillman Jr., WWE Hall of Fame Bushwhacker Luke is scheduled there. James Ellsworth, of course, and the Revolt is going to be there, and of course a lot of great indie talent that are also going to be happening with this promotion. And fast forward to March, SmackDown will be in town on the 3rd. That's a Friday, the 3rd, and on March 19th, I believe, March 19th, the Fight Club promotion is returning. That Fight Club in DC, of course. Shout out to Johnny Cross, and of course that is where the Pan-African champion Trisha Dora is,
Right.
of course, where that championship is housed. Can't speak enough about Fight Club, and of course the fact that DC has a legitimate actual world champion, especially recognized by Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
And also fans that's in that area too. I've met you in person. You're super friendly. You're super nice. Like we talked, I think we talked for a good 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I believe when we first met. And I can tell you to your face right now, you are super nice and super welcoming, and
I try
a wealth of knowledge to speak to.
I try to, as long as people keep me in this character. Then yeah, I can be that. I can be that. But I can't speak enough of the fact that when you see something in people, and when you feel like there's something that you can do with what you're a fan of and so forth. And I use this person as a reference a lot, Don Cornelius, Soul Train.
Right.
He basically saw something where lots of great artists of color were not going to ever be on Dick Clark's American Bandstand. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what the Wrestling Showcase, the Docta D show as his original incarnation, has always been about. Because there's a love for talent that is looking for something, is looking to be recognized somewhere, and what can be the jump off. And I could be that person. When I became a part of the convention known as BlurCon, the Black Nerd Comic Convention, and I started the Dream Panels, that pretty much was the game changer right there. When you bring in the content creators, you bring in the upcoming talent, you have these panels, and you become like this pro wrestling ambassador every year for BlurCon, which again, that's not going to change. That's still something that I love doing, and even so now, I'm getting into I'm a big karaoke fan, and last year I created my first wrestling karaoke at BlurCon, and I'm getting ready to take that somewhere, because it's always something. And that's the thing about traveling too, Tyrese, is the fact that I'm going to these places, but I'm also kind of brainstorming. My wheels are always turning, because something is coming to me that is like, okay, what is it? What is it that I haven't done? And what is it that I can be doing? How can I add on to my brand and everything like that? And boom, wrestling karaoke was very successful. So things like that. There's so much more that, Lord willing, that I'm still able to do as,
Right.
as long as I'm here, and as long as it's still fun, it's still love, and it's definitely still fun.
No, definitely. And that's again what I admire about you is even to this day, with all you've done and your career, you've done a lot. You've done things that people dream to do, and yet you're still going. You're still as passionate as you were when you first started. And for any content creator that's getting into the game, for any wrestling journalist that's getting into this game, you are somebody that people should look up to, are looking up to, as somebody that is, going to the shows, doing, being respectable about how you can conduct yourself, showing the love back, which I think is also rare too. People sometimes want to take, but don't
Mhm.
want to give. And that's something that you've just kind of done, is to giving that love to not just wrestling stars coming up in the business, but also content creators. And I cannot I keep going on and on about how much you've done, and how great you are. Um, but I genuinely do want to say that for the young content creators getting in the game, we thank you for all you've done and for laying out a blueprint of how we should handle business.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tyrese. I appreciate people giving me a chance. I didn't have a journalism degree or anything like that. I mean, my degree was in liberal arts and everything, and been in the special ed teaching field for over 25 years. Uh,
Right.
but it was just something about just asking and not asking a lot,
Mhm.
because the thing about me, I never really asked a lot in terms of getting interviews and so forth like that. They just pretty much uh for a long time, and it's still kind of this way, give me just about anything I needed.
Mm.
Getting, how do they tell me about the hotels, even though where they staying. I'm like, I ain't never asked for that. But they tell me like, hey doc, I can get you in the hotel. I'm like, okay. I mean, anything to get the word out, or to get those photos up.
Right.
That's what I did. But I think that I appreciate more is, what I still appreciate now is the fact that there's a love for this. There are people that may have been made fun of over the years, because I sure have, for being a wrestling fan. People from my own school that see back in high school, and they see me now, and you know how that goes, when it comes to being able to still be a fan
Right.
all these years, and still loving to do what you do after all these years, and then really taking it on another notch, and you're able to really expand and create this legacy, which is
Right.
everybody is doing, is what you're doing. You I can tell that when I heard that you said SEScoops, I'm like, oh my gosh. When I was in Coppin State, and the computers, I'm like, that's one of the websites I ever read. You know what I mean? So
Thank
it,
you.
so for you to reach out to me, and to even make this platform, I'm very honored, and I really am grateful, Tyrese.
Thank you, man. I definitely appreciate that. And I'm sure my SE Scoops family also appreciates those kinds of words, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Before I get you out of here, I do want to ask you some couple of questions. Is that okay?
Sure, sure.
Okay. First question: who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Still to this day, living or dead, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Interesting. Why American Dream Dusty Rhodes?
I mean, it was always something about him that really gravitated towards me when it comes to his swag and everything. And we know where people may be trying to go with this, but Dusty was somebody that I gravitated to, especially because the NWA has always been my favorite promotion, and the fact that I know I had the chance to meet Dusty a few years ago, and from knowing what I know now, even through Dustin and Cody, it's like there was always something about the American dream. And I'll say this to the highest heaven: Dusty was more popular than Hulk Hogan. He was more
Really?
he was more popular than Hulk Hogan. If you look back, Tyrese, at the wrestling magazines,
Mm.
we know what how mainstream WWF was, but when it came to the hardcore fans back in the day, they were more pro Dusty than Hogan.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. It's crazy because I always grew up with, and I was born in '96. So
Yeah.
like the narrative that was brought to me at my age when I got into wrestling was, oh,
Mhm.
Hulk Hogan was the biggest wrestling star ever. Like
Yeah.
he is what everybody loves.
And that's true, and that's still true. That was still true. You look at that though, and even again when it came to, I want to say it was 87, when it came to who won the most popular award, I
Mm.
believe it was Dusty over Hogan.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Didn't
believe it
know
was
that.
Dusty over Hogan. Yeah, yeah. But again, I mean, people can say what they will about Hogan, and we all know we can.
Mm-hmm.
But for a period of time, he was that guy. He was that guy. But for me, it was always Dusty. It was always the NWA. My favorite tag team was the Road Warriors and the Rock and Roll Express.
Mm.
And I to grow up in that period,
Mm.
and when I got to see him live back in '86, it does such feeling for me because, for example, when when my first show was at the DC Armory in '86,
Mm.
we saw the wrestlers come through the front door while we were getting our tickets, and the Rock and Roll Express was one of the first people that we got to meet, and to this day I have a relationship with Ricky and Robert.
That's
So
dope.
yeah, so I have that affiliation with them when they come to town. Again, they're those guys. They are those guys. They're like your unks,
Mm.
Uncle Ricky, Uncle Robert. You know what I mean? I definitely um I'm very close with Boogeyman. I'm close with Tony Atlas, Mr. USA, Tony
Right.
Atlas. Yeah, and I'm very, very close. If there's anybody that's my all-time mentor in this business, is WWE Hall of Famer, the unpredictable Johnny Rods.
Mm.
If you don't know that name, please, and I'm sure you do, but
Of
to
course.
those that don't know, the list of people that he's helped in this business,
Yep.
from Piper to SD, all the way down to now with Big Cass, aka Bill, and Masha Slamovich, and the ECW names. I mean, that's a guy that every year I go to his promotion, World
Mm.
of Unpredictable Wrestling. I sit and have that conversation and dialogue with him, and it's priceless. It's very priceless talking with him and catching up and learning of him every single year.
Next question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
What does end of story mean? Because I see on whenever you post something, you always end with end of story, and I always confused what that meant. What does end of story mean?
So it goes back to pretty much how I always start off the showcase by saying the story goes like this. It's kind of a catchphrase that I came up with in college,
Mm-hmm.
because at the time when me and my college buddies were all in our wrestling, in our wrestling minds and everything at that, we were all in that frame of mind, that those modes back in the day, and creating characters and so forth. One of my friends had a saying, "Have you heard the news? Have you
Mm-hmm.
heard the news? Have you heard the news?" And then I said, "Okay, all right." The story goes like this. I kept kind of feeding off of that, and the story goes like this. That, of course, became the intro to everything that I've done
Right.
on my platforms, and then to close it out, that's where the end of story comes in. And I've
Gotcha.
used and something about me using those two phrases, especially with the hashtag, it kind of caught on in a matter of speaking. So yeah, in fact, if you can, I don't know. Of course, you're not able to see my new
I
custom
can see it. I can see it.
jacket, my new custom jacket, but I have in the story right on the back, on the back, right at the top there. So I posted it before, but yeah, that's pretty much been my two catchphrases. So that's what end the story means.
There you go.
Yeah.
One last question I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you. What do you think the legacy of Daryl Dr. D Johnson will be in wrestling?
Somebody that just loves showing how much of a fan he is, or was. And I always look to people like who you have asked about, who you have asked about, like Brian and Wilkins,
Mhm.
and so many others that may have given me my flowers per se, and they may have been able to say something that really was kind of motivating to me. And it's like, it's so weird sometimes. I have my moments and think about things like, when it comes to losing family, losing friends and so forth. So, at such early age, it's like, dang it, do I need to write my own eulogy? How I want people to really remember me, and so forth like that, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It's like, in terms of who Dr. D was, Dr. D was just a fan of the fan, not just a fan of wrestling, not just a fan of the talent, not just a fan of the business, but if anything, he was a fan of the fan, because it starts there. In
Right.
any, it starts there, end of story. You have to be a fan in order to do any part of this.
Right.
That's the love. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And again, I asked you that because I can I can kind of see it from what I think the legacy of you would be is
Mhm,
somebody that didn't hold back information, didn't not reciprocate the same love that he was given, and
mhm,
somebody that has helped others when you didn't need to. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me is the fact of, you know, like I said before, you could just do what you do and interview talent and up and comers and legends and just ride up to the sunset. To this day, you still inspire others. To this day, you still help others. To this day, you're so loved because of what you've given back to the wrestling business. You've not only, you benefit the wrestling business, of course, but you've shown that love back. And that's something in your position, people in your position may not do. And, you know, I say hats off to you because you've helped so many other people and now they're flourishing. Now we're in a space and time where content creators are making deals and they're working with, the Ringer, Spotify. They're doing all these great things, having their own wrestling promotion with jobbers here. Like a lot of that, is something that's still new. But you were somebody that was doing it when there wasn't really all that opportunities back then. But you did it because you loved the business, and because of how much you love the business, what you've done, people today can now flourish.
It's going to be better than what it is right now, too.
Right.
You know what I mean? We all laid the groundwork. We just hope that it continues to be fertile. We hope that it continues to have a long lasting life, just like hip hop has been for
Right.
50 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just really, at this point, say bravo to everybody, including yourself, for
Thank you.
having the passion to make sure that somebody just gets a look at what this thing called pro wrestling is like and who's helping it move the needle, basically.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
I'm not used to this stuff coming back to me. I like deflecting. Before I let you go, where could people that aren't already following you, where can they reach you?
Right here. There it is. And the thing I love about it is this is for everything, for Facebook, for Instagram, for Twitter, for YouTube, TikTok, everything. It's this is pretty much the central location, and to make it real clear, it's THA, not THE. Somebody try to be cute and create the real Dr. D account with the E that comes in the. Nope, it's THA. I have more followers than that person.
Mm.
So yes, it's the real Dr. D, and that's on everything. That's how they can find me, Tyrese.
On Facebook, on Twitter.
Mhm.
Are you also on TikTok, I believe, also, right?
Yes,
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yep, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
The
Those
real Dr. D, the one and only. There's no imposters out there.
yeah,
They
not
try to be imposters, but no, there's only one Dr. D.
Yep, and just like that, everybody asks, well, what about David Schultz? David Schultz is Doctor.
Right.
I'm Doctor, and even David Schultz himself endorses me. So,
See, there you go. That's what they got the stamp. You
yeah,
got the stamp. You
even
got the
David
stamp.
Schultz endorses me. So.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Like I said, I know it's a little bit late. We had
That's
a little
fine.
technical difficulties before the show started, but I appreciate your time, and
Absolutely.
I hope today we kind of give you your flowers. Obviously, when the interview drops, when the article drops, we're gonna give you more flowers. But hope it's a little taste. It's a little taste for you.
Much love to you, Tyrese. I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Signing off. My name is Tyrese Simon, news writer for SEScoops, with Daryl Dr. D Johnson. This has been the Get to Know series, and that, borrow your phrase, is the end of story. Have a nice day, guys.